Laura, in your recent podcast with John Atack, it really struck me when you mentioned kids being brought up to be obedient versus thoughtfully rebellious, or whatever term it was that you used. I was raised Christian, lots of rules, took 40 years to completely get out, was of course taught to be polite. I think I am generally considered to be a nice person, and this is a serious problem. Though most people would probably view me as a strong, independent sort, I've come to recognize that, because I'm generally surrounded by kind people, I don't have much capacity to deal with strong, unwanted pressure. It seems that if someone is willing to go outside the norms of typical polite behavior, they have a degree of control over the more polite people, because we are trained to be pleasers. I had a brief experience that brought this realization home, and it was such a small, stupid thing, nothing like what you guys dealt with in Scientology. I was at the mall and fell prey to a super aggressive salesman at one of those kiosks. I paused politely and reached for a little free sample he proffered. He grabbed my arm, pulled me in, and I was trapped there with a hard sell for 15 minutes. He just kept after me with question/benefits/sales/special deals, one after another. I was incredibly uncomfortable, but I couldn't figure out how to extricate myself. I almost bought an expensive special deal just for you from him just to escape. Fortunately, I deflected, resisted, insisted 10 plus times that I would check the reviews online myself, made my 30th excuse, and finally left. After the experience, I was so angry, not at him, but at myself. Why did I put up with it when I was so uncomfortable? Why wasn't I able to be stronger and just leave like I wanted to? I really hope it's a lesson learned and that I'll do better next time I'm facing unusual pressure, whether in a sales situation or otherwise. But I always recall this experience when you talk about people being convinced to join Scientology or give money or etc. If I was so susceptible with this minor thing, how would I do if someone were pressuring me even harder? Probably not very well, I'm thinking. You've mentioned how you would hard sell people into Scientology and how the church practices extreme sales techniques both in recruiting and on both its members. And of course, these techniques are used in the wider world too. Could you sometime explore proactive ways to resist pressure from your own experience? Do you think it simply comes down to a willingness to be rude? Are there other techniques to learning resistance, perhaps without going so far as to subject oneself to bull baiting? Thanks, Laura. This is a good question, and it's definitely a subject that a lot of people could use some help with, so I thought I would try to take a stab at this. When people go outside the normal or the norms of civilized, polite behavior in order to sell you something, right? You were making this point or this case that, you're being grabbed by the arm, you're being pulled in, this is somebody violating your personal space, this sort of thing, in order to be aggressive and hard sell you. And of course, this happens because there are so many things in the world that people want to sell you. So many, we're overwhelmed with advertising and offers for things that we just kind of put up our screens and go blind to it because we don't want to, we're just overwhelmed by it. It's not that those products or services are not things I'm sure a lot of those things we want, but there's just so much of it. And we're definitely in this age of information. We are overloaded with information, and it's more than any of us can process. I challenge anyone out there to be able to take everything in that is being thrown at you all day long. So all of us have our varying levels of attention that we can give to things, and some of us are just don't want to go there. And yet there are instances like this case in the mall, or with Scientology salespeople on the street trying to give you a personality test and body route you over to a table where they will sit you down and put you on an e-meter and figure out what your stress is. And of course, with a lot of people, their stress is that they're being body routed to sit down at a table when they don't want to be there. But getting back to answering this question specifically, I think that you are perfectly justified, and it's completely acceptable that you simply get up and walk away. Or say, no, I don't want this, and turn around and walk away. Because they are going beyond the norms of civilized, polite behavior in their aggressive sales tactics, you are completely justified in going beyond polite, normal behavior on your own, or what you might think would be normal, polite behavior, to negate their sales tactics by simply and very, very certainly and very, very clearly saying, I ain't interested, and proceeding to walk away. You don't owe that person anything. And that's the thing, is we're sort of raised to, be polite, to listen to people, to try to understand them, to try to show compassion or empathy. I mean, these are considered good traits in Western society. And normally I'm all for that sort of thing in voluntary social interaction. But in involuntary social interaction, the same rules don't necessarily apply. Which is not to say that you have to be a jerk, right? They're already being the jerk, right? You don't have to meet, kind with kind. You don't have to be antagonistic about it or violent about it or anything like that, unless circumstances get ramped up, and then you have to be more aggressive about it. But normally, if you just go no, and you just walk away. It's not a matter of having to worry about the salesman's feelings or them taking it personally or something like that, because they're doing a job, and they are trained to do their job by whoever hired them a particular way. They won't make money. They won't keep that job if they don't perform the way that the sales managers or executives who hired them want them to. So it's not even necessarily that you're dealing with somebody who wants to treat you that way. That's just how they're expected to act. And, unfortunately, we run across that all the time. And when we do, just say no. That's about the best advice I can give, because it's really the most effective.